You knew. But you knew though. You knew. Okay? You knew though. Say hi to the cabinet, Omarosa.
The cabinet is in effect. Okay.
Yes.
In the real cabinet meetings, people always saw me sitting right. Donna was here. I had to sit behind Betsy DeVos. In the real cabinet meeting.
Ditsy DeVos.
Ditsy.
Mother Wig. Is that really
left
her?
me. Ditsy left me, remember?
Yeah, she left you. She said, catch your Uber, bitch.
She did.
How did you save her from that?
How did I save
Yeah,
her?
like I read, and it's so crazy to me because, like, reading this book, right? I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, I don't know. Now, I done watched you on Apprentice, okay?
Did you just take us back to 2004?
I did, because I was like, okay.
Not 2004, Omarosa.
I watched you. So, like, to see, the thing is, though, I say that to say this. When I heard the book was hitting, I was like, I want to see what it's giving. Then, girl, the tapes. Sis.
Receipts are important.
Sis.
Because you gotta admit, would you have believed the whole Situation Room if the tape didn't accompany the Situation Room?
The thing is this, and I said this on Just So the Cabinet Knows. I said this pre-reading the book. I said, Omarosa, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. It's strategic. I think she's calculating. I think she's smart. One thing I don't think she is a liar. And I said that. I said, you may not like her, but I don't feel like she's just going to outright lie on somebody. Okay. You may screen the situation, like situationalist. Okay. She's a situationalist. but
hashtag
situationalist. I don't think you're going to outright lie. So the thing is, I was going to read the book anyway. But then you dropped the tape. And I'm like, okay, she got an album. Where's the mixtape? The mixtape is coming. You know what I'm saying? So we start reading this book, and like one day I just started reading it, and like people just started tuning in. Then I was like, okay, y'all want me to read more? And I started reading more. So like we as a cabinet, we started reading it, and I think it actually kind of made me be like, damn, I need to step up my receipt game. Because, you know, I wouldn't have been like, no shade, in the Situation Room. How did that feel, like the first chapter, right? Because I would have been dead.
So let's just start. I'm not scared of much.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I have that project mentality where I've seen things, I've experienced things, but there's something about a 4-star general, right? He has this reputation of being hardcore, killed people, fought on the front line for this country. So when a 4-star general tells you, he emailed my assistant and said, let's meet in the Situation Room, the first thing you go is, why? Unless we're about to go to war with some foreign country, unless we're plotting some strategic move, foreign policy move, why are we meeting in the Situation Room? So already my instincts, were just kind of perked. So it was a little, when I asked repeatedly if I could leave and they said no. But when he dropped the line, things will get ugly for you.
You gagged. I gagged too, girl, when I read the book.
Things will get ugly for you. We know what that means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We know what code language is. And then he started talking about a court-martial. That's when I knew I went to crazy town. Because I'm sitting like, you're in the White House. This is not the Pentagon. This is the White House. And I literally, at that point, I was like, just say that a little louder. Did you just say court-martial? I almost wanted to go. But no, when I kept asking to leave, that's when things got a little scary.
Gotcha. Reading the book, a lot of things was going on that you were doing. Like, because no shade, we didn't really know what your job was at the White House. So reading the book kind of made people understand it.
Literally, now that there's other accounts that kind of validate the stuff I was talking about. I don't know which congressman said that the White House was like an adult daycare.
Yeah.
So even if, my job is director of communication, but I was director of communication for OPL for Donald Trump, whose message changed every day. So we would wake up saying we're going to talk about taxes. By that afternoon, he has insulted somebody, started some controversy, tweeted something out, and instead of dealing with taxes, we're dealing with something that he started. So yeah, I can understand why people had questions about to share this. If you don't.
Like it was like, yeah, go ahead and share. But like it was like that was the biggest thing, and also too like you were doing a lot of things for like HBCUs, which I thought was really cool. A lot of colleges, and like I got one of the cabinet members asked this question. I thought it was a good question. In us now reading and seeing what you were actually doing, how did it feel to be doing all of this work? Not only are you putting out this fire, you're babysitting, but you're also doing this work. But at the same time, on the black side of the fence, because we was like, girl.
I know.
How did that feel? Like, how was that? Was that hard to juggle?
Question. I understood why people were upset. So I have to own the fact that I'm sitting next to somebody who they completely dislike. And so if you dislike the person I'm rolling with, and then I try to come and meet with you, you're already going to put me on mute. So I could stand there and scream as loud as possible and say, hey, I'm here to help. They put me on mute just because of the fact that I was trying to do outreach for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But I came up in politics, some of the greatest political strategists. Alexis Herman, former Secretary of Labor, Mignon Moore, brilliant political strategist, Doris Crenshaw, Charlie Duncan, Bob J. Nash. These are people that I came up in politics with, and they taught me that we can't all be in the same boat. If everybody in this room is in the same boat and this boat starts sinking, somebody's got to be able to throw a life jacket. My point of saying that is we can't all be in the same political party either. Yeah. When you give support, political support, 99% to the Democrats, they're going to take you for granted. They're going to not see your base as powerful because they're like, we already got you.
Right.
The most effective group that they spend the most amount of money for in politics are swing voters. Right? That's who they're chasing, are the swing voters, because that's who is going to make the difference, or the independent, or the people who are not decided. They don't focus on African American female. They know African American female and the political calculation are going to vote for the Democrats 99.9% of the time, or in this case, 100% of the time. So I came from I understood why people were upset. I understood why they, called me names. I understood why they didn't have a full understanding of why it was important for me to be there. But to hear the accounts from Woodward's book and Comey and Wolf, people saying, we had to stay in there because we were afraid of his most dangerous impulses.
Right.
It tripled for me. Because I'm thinking, I could quit. But like right now, that there are no African American senior staff appointees.
Yeah.
No, when I say none, I'm saying zero. Every morning, 8 a.m. in the Roosevelt Room, there was a senior staff meeting. 30 assistants to the president sit around the table and make decisions that impact your life, and your life. None of them are people of color. And that should alarm folks.
Alarm people.
It should. How
did being, like, you're a woman of faith, I come from a very religious family, even though, sorry, Grandma, I ain't been in a while. But being a woman of faith, and I thought this is a great question, especially with the whole Detroit debacle, which I thought was hilarious in writing. Like, it was like one of the most funny moments we went over when we read this book.
Taking them to church.
Yes. How was that a struggle for you, being a woman of the cloth of faith, and having a husband who is same thing, and working with a man who is admittedly like...
But can you notice the pattern? The first thing I thought is, let me get Donald Trump to Jesus. Remember, December of 2015, the first thing I did was work with Daryl Scott, Michael Cohen, to get Donald Trump in front of 100 black ministers who could advise him.
Right.
So this notion that I didn't want other black people to advise them, that's counter to what I did. I always got Donald Trump in a room, a group of people who could say, these are our demands, these are the things we want.
Right.
And these are people who represent communities and congregations of faith. But to sit through church service with Donald Trump for 3.5 hours.
Girl.
When the praise dancers came out, and he's like, dancers? You see the pictures, and he's like, the whole time, and then he's leaning over to me, asking a whole bunch of questions. Through the host, at some point I said, so you do know we're not supposed to talk in church? He's like, well, everybody's talking. They were saying amen. I was like, Yeah, that's different.
It's a little different.
A little
So,
different.
like, when at this point, because the tapes is like, girl, and I feel like you got more, but when this is a question that 800 people sent me, when did you feel that it's like, okay, I need to have some backup?
Okay, I'm gonna take you way back.
Okay.
I take you way back. The first time I went into the White House, there was this scandal between Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that broke that scandal wide open wasn't the blue dress. It was Linda Tripp taping Monica Lewinsky. I don't know if you remember.
I remember that.
They played the tape of Monica talking about her sexual relationship with Linda Tripp on the news. And I remember thinking, wow, that Linda Tripp she's shady. Sorry. Why would you record your friend? But even back then, people understood that you're going to be in situations where, quite frankly, without covering your back, particularly if you're a person of color, without covering your back, people are going to question your credibility. And that's all I've heard since my book came out. Mm-hmm. Credibility, credibility, credibility. I'm like, do I have to transcribe the tape for you? Like, what are you talking about, credibility? But when you asked me about when, it was pretty early on where things were happening, and there was no one that looked like me, looked like you, looked like any of them, sitting around the table, and I'm going, this is alarming.
And it's interesting you say that, because that was one of the things that me and the cabinet touched on is in reading the book, because sometimes when you see a black person with all these white people, as black people are like, oh, she thinks she's better than us, but that book, right? But reading the book was like, oh, she's a black woman and she understands that. And I thought that was a good takeaway from that, because no shade, a lot of people feel some kind of way, but one thing that was consistent when me and the cabinet read this book was the receiptage. The receiptage, hashtag receiptage. The receiptage was what got it. The receiptage and Hope Hicks. Like, the people, like, no shade. Every time we talked about Hope Hicks in this book, and the cabinet always laughs when we talk about Hope Hicks, it was like, when we look at your resume, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, Omarosa, I ain't know half the shit that you, I was like, oh, okay. But when we kind of discovered that as a group, we was like, damn, she was like probably the most qualified motherfucker in the cabinet, like in there. But like, to read it, and as a woman, as a black woman, I want to ask you this question. As a black woman, Howard University, okay, decorated, up there. How did it feel to have all of these credentials, all of this education, knowledge, and you're literally having to deal with Ivanka's stylist, like, I don't know what she, Forever 21, like, how did it feel?
Why do you keep calling Hope Hicks Forever 21?
That's how they, in the
I'm
cabinet,
not gonna make it through the rest.
She is Forever 21. That is her nickname in the cabinet, Forever 21.
You're wearing me out. Okay, let me start by saying Hope Hicks is so sweet.
Okay.
I'm gonna share with you. I can't show it to them, but I'll share with you. I have a video of her. We surprised her in one of the meetings. It's her birthday. And I think it's the most you'll hear her talk, because she was strategic about not talking. So, little background. She worked on Ivanka's clothing line. I think her background is in fashion. So, no shade there. Fashion is important. And Donald believes that he should surround himself by people who are central casting, which means he don't care whether you're smart or qualified. If you look the part, then he'll give you the job. And so Hope was so pretty, and she had worked on, writing a couple of press releases for Ivanka's clothing line. He thought, can you come and take some notes for me for my campaign? And I remember the first time I met her, she's like, oh my God, hi. And I was like, hi, it's Punky Brewster. Like, I couldn't believe it. Because she was so sweet and perky and nice, and she had that Valley Girl thing going. But I kept thinking, how is she going to be your press secretary?
Yeah.
And we were taking incoming from the moment he announced. Remember, his announcement was explosive. And she's like, oh, they said that you insulted some people. And I'm like, some people? He insulted half of the country.
Right.
But throughout it, she remained pretty and perky and, sweet.
She was up there.
Sweet, but to Donald, he would rather have, and I know I said this in the book, he'd rather have somebody who's pretty than qualified on any given day.
Wow.
Really good analogy for her. That we would be in meetings and I would turn to her and say, okay, let's think about GOTV activities. If we get into the battleground state, we need to strategically reach out to our partner. And I'd just be talking the political jargon, and she would be looking at me, and she'd take her phone, and I realized she was Googling what GOTV meant, which is good out the vote. Or she would go and look up battleground. Oh, okay. I mean, she was a quick learner, though. Gotta give her credit.
Kudos. So like, basically what you saying, because like, looking at how many jobs didn't get filled and it's still vacant.
It's still are vacant.
Like, I could have applied. I should have applied.
Very easily.
As long as I showed up in my suit and I because I'm like, I know the basics.
You would have done better than Ditsy DeVos being Secretary of Education.
So what? Okay, so because the Ditsy DeVos name kind of we just cackle at that. Like, going through that whole situation with Betsy DeVos, like, and it seemed like you was trying to save her from the cliff, but she was just like, I'm just going to jump anyway.
We started on a good note. Her first visit to any university, any college, any institution of higher learning was to Howard University.
Okay.
So, she found a very special place in my heart. Your first stop is to a black college. So I hop in the motorcade. I'm going to Howard University. I'm going to the Mecca.
Right.
With the Secretary of Education. The first thing that she said when she got there, she's like, oh, it's so nice. And I'm like, well, what was she expecting? Was she expecting the place was going to be falling down? And then there were students there. And she's like, well, what is your name? And what are you majoring in? Oh, these students are so nice. Like, everything to her seemed like such a discovery. The buildings were nice. The students were nice and articulate, which was one of my pet peeves when you refer to a black person. The students are so smart and articulate. So, there are times that throughout the whole administration where I had to bite my tongue and then later try to educate. It's not a compliment
to say that, yeah.
To say to an African American that you're articulate, because we have mastered the language, the standard language of, now we might code switch on you,
right?
But we've mastered the language.
We know how to do that. Yeah. Like, and that's like
it was
the
hard
biggest
though, to sit in meetings with people who talk down to you, who did not have, in this case, I have 20 years of experience, 2 administrations, 1 Democratic, 1 Republican. At the DNC, raising money, 20 years of experience, education, put in my time, experience to sit at tables and have people who don't even have half of that experience talking down to me. So not only was I taking my lumps, and I'm not complaining, y'all, so I'm going to be very careful. I'm not complaining. Take the lumps and bumps from the black community, but also internally, the struggles internally were pretty brutal as well.
That had to be kind of crazy. So, on the end note, because I don't want to keep you. My shows come on.
Which show? Are you? Wait a minute. Are you cutting me off? What is it? Power? What's coming on tonight? It's gotta be Power.
Oh no, it's not Power.
I am being cut off for Power. I know what's happening.
No, I got you though. But like, looking at going through all of this, and I know you had a long relationship with Donald Trump, and obviously a lot of us, like you said, one thing that you pointed out in the books that I thought was key for people to remember, a lot of celebrities, rappers, fashion people, they was all about the Donald.
Oh, and don't forget about Celebrity Apprentice.
Right.
Don't let me start running down the list, Star Jones, Vivica Fox, of people who went to go on The Apprentice. I never call out the list of black folks who went because they act like I was the only person who was duped by Donald Trump. you start looking at all of the black people who also appeared on Celebrity Apprentice, who had the same amount of information about Donald Trump, they apparently didn't think he was a racist as well. So I wasn't solo. So when people call me out, I'm always curious about that. I want to point one thing out on the book. The reason I chose the photo for the cover of the book, the first thing the White House does when somebody speaks out against them is they say you were the coffee boy or girl, you never had access, she wasn't doing anything important, she wasn't in meetings, and I knew that that would be the first thing that they did when I came out with the book. So I chose a photo that had every single symbol of power for this country. First of all, this photo is taken in the Oval Office. It's taken behind the podium with the presidential seal in it. It's me, and then all of course, the flags with all the campaigns of war are behind it. The President of the United States with his signature power red tie, and of course, me clearly instructing and telling him, and briefing him. I chose this photo strategically because I knew that the first thing that they would try to do is say, 1, she didn't have access, 2, she wasn't in the room, and 3, she never, briefed or informed the president.
I would say this, because I don't give people their chance because I think I'm a pretty clever person myself. But one thing that I have learned from this book, and I gotta give you this, I'm gonna give it to you. You have to, when I be at work, because I still work the 9 to 5. When I'm at work, I have my level of receiptage now.
Do you? Because people say crazy stuff.
If it's one thing to get from, you're a master class and cover your ass.
Please, can I take that?
Absolutely.
That is my new bumper sticker. You've heard it here first. Hashtag masterclass.
And cover your ass. Omarosa Manigault-Newman. Bitch. Yes.
Can I just, before we close out, can I just thank you?
Yeah.
Because I recognize that had you not just taken a chance, read the book, and we would not have had a chance to expose this story, the trials and tribulations, the loss of my father, my brother being murdered, all of that. I would not have been able to share that with as many people as we did because of you. And so I just want to thank you.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Your interpretation of the story and your insight was so rich, and it has reached so many people. And I just want to stop and say, as I am on the New York Times bestseller list, it's because of people who gave me a chance to at least hear me out and to tell my story. And a lot of that is because you really did just tap into the consciousness of our community.
Well, I'm going to tell you like this. I don't believe in throwing no black person away, especially after seeing Sean Spicer go on the Emmys and get all the love after he lied to the country every day, whether he liked it or not. So what I wasn't going to do, and this is me being me, I'm not going to throw away a black woman, especially a smart black woman of color. That's just not going to happen. So it was an honor for me to read the book. I just happened to pick it up. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't. I was like, "Oh, bitch, I'm gonna read the book and we gonna get famous, bitch." It was like, "Oh, this is cute." I'm reading. Then as I'm reading it, like I said, your text said it all. I just kind of transcribed it and did hood audible, but the text did it all. So I thank you for even coming. I know what your time is. I know what it is. A boy from Baltimore, you coming and seeing me. So I appreciate it, and I wish you all the best.
I had to come and just spend some time with the Secretary of State.
Yes!
You ready for Oakland?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Good, because I got a lot riding on you.
Why did Frank DeLuca put $3 million on Oakland and you just mysteriously somehow just happened to drop the winning touchdown?
James, what happened to you? You came into this league a star receiver.
You want everything he has. His fame, his money.
And his wife? I am not throwing games.
But the FBI thinks that I'm fixing games. And your name came up.
$15 million appeared in his account.
You want me to take my money and get somebody else control over it?
This is $30 million.
That's right.
It's Frank, man. Somebody killed him.
Ah!
What up, killer?
Yeah, he been saying a whole lot about your wife too. What's up with that?
I handle it.
He raped me.
I didn't force myself on her. She wanted it.
Your wife asked me to loan her $30,000.
What?
Why did you talk crap behind my back, turn my husband against me, and betray me?
Maybe she's just not who you thought she was.
He's lying.
James Williams, just released by the Tigers.
It's over for me.
James, Frank stole the money. They think you're in on it.
Where's the money?
And the only reason why you're not dead is because the FBI is watching them.
I was the one suffering with a man who had some serious problems.
What the hell are you doing, man? I need these to play.
You destroyed my life.
And that way may have been your intentions from the very beginning.
You're nothing but a second place, gold digging hole, looking for your come up.
Don't you dare.
We're done.
Somebody must have to atone for their sins.